I'm lost without you. Welcome everybody, it's the Ugly Tenor here. We're going to lay some more musicology on you this Monday. Today we're going to talk about a topic that is rather complex, the history of vocal jazz. Now there's so many parts, so many elements, so many factors that went into the development of vocal jazz. It's hard to kind of really go into it without overdoing. We're going to briefly run through this stuff, but I want you to take this information, run with it, go do your own research, and let me know what you think. Vocal jazz has always had its history in African American culture. Like so many great art forms that we have, the African American culture has given us jazz as well. Some people say it went all the way back to late 19th century or even mid 19th century when you had something called a field holler, field call, in which southern laborers would communicate with each other by singing these kind of improvised vocal lines, or even vent in a way that their bosses wouldn't find unacceptable. So it kind of started back then, and mostly it was a solo thing, but you would also have echoes or responses from other workers. So you had this call and response approach to the singing, and that kind of also led to development of blues and other things, and the development of gospel music. So with that improvisational approach, we have development of an official kind of jazz vocal singing that was partly developed by Louis Armstrong, which a lot of you probably know. He, along with a singer named Adelaide Hall, developed scat singing, which is a very instrumental approach. Improvisational, uses syllables that are meaningless basically, that just are a way to make sound on pitch, and it solidified that type of singing as integral part of vocal jazz music as we know it today. So after Louis Armstrong came along and really made that a fundamental part of vocal jazz, then we have Billie Holiday, who, although didn't have the vocal range as some of her predecessors, was able to use still that kind of bluesy jazz approach to her phrasing, very emotionally intimate, made her very popular as well. After that, you have the end of Prohibition. Yay, we can drink again. And people wanted to go out and party, so they wanted a more danceable form of jazz. So then you have the swing era and the big bands, people like Duke Ellington, Glenn Miller, Count Basie. You're getting close to the mid-1900s, and you've got the big bands are less viable options. So you have the rise of something called bebop. And since they were no longer constrained by having to make it danceable, they could play it faster, they could have more variety, and you have, with that, the rise of singers like Ella Fitzgerald. Now, around that time also, recording history comes into play here, because you had the introduction of the LP, the long play record. Before, musicians were often limited by what they could do on a recording simply because of time. The disc that they had back then, the extended play, didn't have enough time to do a lot of the things they wanted to do. But now you have long play records, which I think were about 72 minutes, so they could make much different selections. And Ella Fitzgerald around this time introduced her songbook, was able to deliver a whole new selection of repertoire to Americans. And of course you have 50s and 60s, rock and roll came into play, and that was competing with jazz and kind of helped to decline its popularity a little bit. However, still during this time, you have some great artists like Frank Sinatra. Although he used his acting career as a means to help continue his popularity as a singer, he was still able to be a very popular singer of the jazz type of music. It's all very complicated, it's all very long, but that's kind of a brief history of vocal jazz. What I think is important to take away from this is, even though it's kind of waned in popularity here and there throughout the past 100 years, it has so greatly influenced many different forms of music, pop music to classical music. That's why I think it will always remain an integral part of American musical heritage. You should definitely go learn some more about it. Listen to some of these great performers, these great singers. Start to understand how they really influence the rest of American music. And on that note, keep healthy and keep singing. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, click down below. If you want to see more, subscribe. You can also follow us on our other social media channels. Links are down below, okay? If you have comments or questions, feel free to leave them. We'll get back at you, all right? In the meantime, keep healthy, keep singing.
I'm running to the door this time.
Jesus
Fucking
Christ.
A.